Today I want to talk through the three types of ML platforms you typically see. Now this is a bit more of a technical presentation in the sense that we're not directly tied to business value. You've decided for business reasons you want to evaluate an ML platform. What might you see? Generally speaking, ML platforms today come in three core varieties. And those are one are like research or experiment-based platforms, two would be end-to-end, and then three would be MLOps. And we can almost put like a little star here, because we could, and I'll explain why. And this is not a judgment as like one is going to be better than the other. We're going to lay out some options and when one might be right and how you can often use these in combination to reach your objectives. So first up, what do I mean by a research platform or an experiment-based platform? These platforms tend to be notebook-based, the idea being how do we create a collaborative environment for data scientists and sometimes other personas, but typically people who want to write Python, R, and SQL, they're writing code. Can we give them one place where they can go, access data and compute, work together? So I build something, I share it, you build something, you share it, and have some process for just quickly iterating. And this is extremely useful because most of the data science time, it's a common trope, is spent on this data wrangling, idea formation. So you will need some area to do research. Some companies or some organizations tend to do this locally, but having a collaborative tool to help your team, a shared workbench where everyone gets together, is a pretty good idea. The second type of platform you tend to see are end-to-end platforms. And these, the idea being is you get on the yellow brick road, you come into their world, and they're going to help you go from connecting to data, doing some analysis, doing some exploration, building features, training models, serving models, and then all of these additional monitoring and deployment steps that are required, you'll follow them. And the nice thing here is that you tend to get a lot of good software engineering practice. It's just specific. Again, it's like you're on the yellow brick road, you need to follow it, but you will get to Oz. Often these end-to-end platforms will have a research component or could be used in used together with a research tool so that you can quickly iterate and then put it onto the yellow brick road or onto the assembly line. I'll stop with the Wizard of Oz stuff. And then finally, kind of the third type of platform you'll tend to see will be these MLOps platforms. And specifically here, this is where the category gets a bit more broad, but instead of either kind of notebook-based research platform or end-to-end platform, whether this is for people who write code or people who want to use a GUI or some combination of the two, here these tend to be very specific solutions for parts of the ML workflow that you want solved, that may be a challenge for you. So you typically end up in this bucket when you're saying things like, well, we have a team of engineers, we use a Git-based workflow, we have different environments, and we're struggling with our monitoring, we're struggling with drift detection, we're struggling with some aspects of logging or experiment tracking, and there are a whole suite of tools that are really good at those specific things. Oftentimes you'll see these organizations or companies that start down this route will be exclusively open source. So it'll be something like everyone is running Python on their local machines. They'll be using something like an ML flow for experiment tracking. They'll be serving APIs on something like a Kubernetes. It doesn't matter, but the point being, like, they'll then set up a pipeline or two. They'll recognize the amount of maintenance and engineering effort required to keep that pipeline running. And they'll say, okay, let's just grab a piece here or there where we are spending the most time and see if that vendor solution works. And it often does. I'm not making that sound like it's a duct tape kind of thing. That may be perfect for them. So at the end of the day, just to quickly recap here, you'll have these research-based tools that tend to be notebook first with the focus on my core problem is getting some business value, getting some traction with data science and ML, help us build something really, really quick and fast and share it with smart people. The end-to-end tools are there for both the personas that are ready to code and often that aren't. And the idea being is they want to give you a pathway from experimentation. Once we've got something cool, we either do it in this tool or we do it over here, but put us on the assembly line, get us to Oz. And then finally, the MLOps tools tend to come in when you've already been writing code with an engineering focus and software engineering practices, typically, and there are specific aspects of your ML process where you would like some help, and you might go with one of these MLOps tools. Maybe in a subsequent video, we can dive into the most popular platforms of each. And for some of the cloud tools that you are probably familiar with, like Amazon Sagemaker, Azure ML Studio, Google Vertex AI, they actually have components. They kind of go across all three of these. And maybe just as a preview, like the original Amazon Sagemaker, when it was released back in the late 2010s or whatever that would be, 2017, 2018, was basically just exclusively a notebook-based research platform. They started to add end-to-end components and those specific to create a full workflow. And those specific components can be used independently. So if you just want to do pipelining, there's a tool called Sagemaker Pipelines. And again, I'm not pushing you to use that, but just as an example, these categories themselves can exist within a single tool. So hope you found this useful. More to come from me.